So let's get straight to the point. What level of maturity do you think your organisation and your team typically work at? Fingers on buzzers. Get your mobile phones out. Go to sri.do and type in 4534. O, that's not a 0, that's O. PM. And whilst you're doing that, I'll just give a brief description of what do we mean by these different levels of maturity. So a reactive partner is somebody who's just responding to the immediate hustle and bustle of business requests, probably being lazy, trying to deliver projects, things are going wrong, not necessarily particularly well planned. Service partner is a operational maturity level where you've got things more under control, but there's still some conflicts and debate about who does what, and still, although things are planned, they're not necessarily more than, say, a year in advance. Strategic partner, on the other hand, is somebody who, or an organisation, is planning well into the future and is able to interpret the technology trends, the impact on how business works, and then finally is able to advise the business on what they could do differently in order to deliver competitive advantage. It's like a long-winded note, right? So, what are your thoughts? And we can see on the counter already we're up to 30. And by far, the most responsive outcome so far is looking at number 2, which is between reactive partner and service partner. Some interesting insight there. Okay, that's 42 of us, so we're quite numerous today. So, poll results. We've got just about 50. And now suddenly, we've leapt ahead to service partner, between service partner and strategic partner. That's very good news. So there is some progress. So I did a survey in 2016 which elicited the same kind of information. I posed some questions, and the outcome of those questions gave the response. So whereas I've asked you to kind of gut feel, think where you are today, I was a little bit more diagnostic. Now, we're still open to bias, obviously self-assessments, and it's kind of subject to the law of averages. However, it does give an interesting insight nevertheless. In that result, 2016, about 73 respondents, the most common response was around the service partner level. So if you've hit the glass ceiling of around service partner, my first question to you is, how is value management in your organisation? What do I mean by value management? Well, I did another survey, CLX survey, so 2018. Value management, as I like to think of it, is defining the benefit, aligning the business outcome to IT or technology activities, measuring the outcome, analysing root cause, and then at the end of that, continuous improvement. And it's a virtuous cycle. And as you can see, we're not very consistent at applying those techniques to deliver value. And my personal journey is that if I don't get this right first, then the opportunity to be strategic is withheld from us. Now, a lot of people may argue, well, it's not my responsibility. My argument is if we're partnering, if we're working on behalf of our business stakeholders and liaising with technology, we're on the hook, we're implicated, which makes it a very difficult position to be in. I remember, as an IT director, having to ship laptops on a Friday evening at 7 o'clock because the service desk doesn't do that service. I remember having to come in Sunday morning and sort out the servers which had gone down because the contract was not renewed because our business partners refused to pay. Painful times. Fortunately, it didn't all happen on the same weekend, right? But it's hard. But we have to work even harder to get ourselves out of that rut. It's personal change, and that's what's difficult about it. So if I have to take personal accountability for making sure those laptops go out on time, how do I make things work differently in the future? And the challenge really, I think, is finding time. That is our most precious commodity. How do we do that? Well, it comes back to value management. In fact, it may be the most strategic thing you could do at this point in time, given your position. So it gives you the tools to find that time. Continuous improvement is a vastly underrated technique. And if we don't dedicate time to continuous improvement, how are we going to find time to become strategic? So, Baxter, Thompson Associates is here to help. Having gone through the pain of those events, there must be a different way. And I've been in the same position as you folks, having to work between these competing forces, the tension and the heartache, to make it better. And the first step for me was relationship management. I'm a very technical guy, process oriented. This is the feedback that's being given me. And I'm being told, John, you need to improve your communication skills. Value management, continuous improvement, onward journey. And only when those have been put in place, then do we have the opportunity to start thinking longer term. Managing demand, managing competing opportunities is the question of portfolio management. And then finally, the delivery into the organisation. So it's not just about relationships one-to-one, it's about the organisational dynamic and how change is going to affect them, people long-term. We do public courses, Convergence Essentials, which then leads on to Convergence Accelerator. And these modules are actually built on top of one another so that they're dependent and interlinked. So you can actually enroll for the public workshops. You can start your journey with our online learning, which is a new thing that we've put together. And the links are here, training.baxterthompson.com. Or you can explore how these workshops can be delivered in your organisation. And it just so happens, people who are going through all of these three things at the moment, they're here. So there's Sarah Fogg. Where's Sarah? There we go, she's putting her hand up here. So if you want to talk to her about what it was like on Convergence Essential, I've asked her to give an honest reply, so an unbiased response. And then there's Tinika. Where's Tinika? She here? She's the lady outside at the moment, but she's from and they're going through a customised program at the moment for workshops, so you can ask her. And there's Drew as well. If Drew is worked ahead to, there we go. Drew's got his hand up. Brilliant. Thank you. He can tell you from his experience how that is. And then finally, Baxter. There we go. Hands up. There we go. Brilliant. Baxter can help explain what it's like for her and what it's done and how she's working differently as a consequence of doing the online course.